So frequently people want to know what companies to invest in. Well, the first thing I tell them is that I do not name drop companies at all. Why? Because a lot of times when you tell someone a company, the first thing that they're going to turn around and do is invest in it blindly. So they have to take the time to educate themselves before they just jump into it and, potentially lose a lot of money. Because there's a lot of factors at play. You don't know if you're buying it at a right price point. You don't know the ups and downs and the ins and outs of the company. You don't know pretty much a lot about it. So you want to make sure that you have a habit of doing your research first. So to start you off, though, without getting too technical yet, to start you off, what companies do you want to make sure you invest in? You invest in simply a company that meets two requirements, at least at first. All right. First is that you trust the companies. All right. And let me explain what I mean by that. Whenever you're deciding where to put your money in, you have to look and do some research to understand as much as you can about the company. Who's their CEO? Do you like their CEO? How do they make their money? What are the policies that they bring them? What are some of the risks associated with them? The competition associated with them? The list goes on and on and on. So if you can understand the company as much as possible, then that's how you build that relationship of trust. Why is that important? Because one thing you have to understand is that companies are going to, it's not linear. When you're talking about stocks, they don't just move in a straight line up. They don't do that. And that's perfectly normal and perfectly okay. Just like people, they have their bad days, their good days. Just like relationships, you've got your bad periods, your good periods, your bad days, your good days. And so it's that trust for one another that's going to help you to overcome those bad days. So if you just invest into a company blindly and you know nothing about the company, what eventually are you going to do? You're going to sell, all right? And that is and because you sell, and it turned out to be a very good company, you wind up losing simply because you didn't have enough trust or faith in that company. So the first thing that you want to make sure that you do is you trust. You do enough research to the point that you can talk about the story of that company backwards. Same thing like with any relationship. When you're in love, you want to talk about the person all the time. You boast about them to your grandparents, your mama, your uncle, your dad, your brothers, sisters, cousins, friends, you name it. But if you do not have that foundation, if you don't know enough about it that you can't even explain that company, then trust me, that's a recipe for disaster. The second qualification you want to have, at least when it comes to deciding which companies to invest in, is that you want to invest in quality companies, period, over cheap companies. Quality. Now I'm going to use that relationship analogy again. If I'm looking for someone for the long term for a relationship, do you think I just want anybody? I don't care how good looking they look, how much money they have, whatever. Do you think I just want anybody? I want somebody who's quality. Someone who I know is built to is going to last the ups and downs of me, of a relationship, of their own lives, etc. And so with that in mind, that's the same thing when it comes to investing. When you talk about quality companies, not all companies can handle recessions. Not all companies have strong enough CEOs that are solid enough to make or bring the companies in a great course or direction. Not all companies have shareholders that often make the best decisions for the company, because people don't notice the shareholders actually hold oftentimes more power than the CEOs, especially depending on the percentage that the CEOs have or don't have in the company, or the owner having the company. So the point that I'm trying to make is you want to make sure that you invest in a quality company. You don't want to turn around and say, well, this is a cheaper version of the company that I really like, so let me go invest in it. Because if you do that, what's going to happen? You will lose. That company 9 times out of 10 was on sale for a reason. So invest in quality companies. Just like when it comes to a relationship, you want that quality person. You want the same thing when it comes to your investments. So once again, recap, you want quality companies and you want companies that you can trust. It's going to be different for every person. So your friend may not want or trust a company like you will trust the company. And that's okay. You need to be able to trust your company because ultimately that is your dollars in it. You need to be able to ride the ups and downs and the waves that are sure to come when you invest in the company for the long term. Okay? So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave your questions or comments in the bottom and I'll get back to you. Okay? Bye-bye.